one other story, and it's interesting to see how this is playing over at Glenn Beck's site, theblaze.com, and a bunch of the right-wing sites. There's a top of the well, I haven't seen the print paper, but on the electronic edition of the New York Times, the big story is how, starting in 2004, more or less, as American soldiers were really starting to dig deep into Iraq, because we were now, and we were, 2 years into, or a year and a half into, an occupation. Keep in mind, we won the Iraq War 3-4 weeks in. When Bush declared mission accomplished, mission was accomplished. We had taken down the government of Iraq. We took out Saddam Hussein. We won the war. Then we began an occupation. Occupations are very different things. And we, by and large, lost the occupation. But during the occupation, as we dug deeper and deeper into the countryside, we kept finding these caches, or burial grounds, really, would be a more appropriate description, of poison gas. And here's the interesting thing. They were poison gas shells containing like mustard gas and stuff, that had been sold to Saddam Hussein by Ronald Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush. And so during the Bush administration, when they began to discover these things, you would think that Bush and Cheney, the number one thing they would want to say in the world is, hey, we found weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. But they didn't. What they found was these old shells that had, some mustard gas here and there. What is prompting this story right now is that some of the people who have been attacked by ISIS, in some of the videos that ISIS is putting out on the internet, are showing burns on their skin that are characteristic of poison gas. So the question was, where did this poison gas come from? New York Times filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the federal government and discovered that, sure enough, we discovered poison gas in Iraq, but it was these old shells from the Bush-Reagan era, or the Reagan-Bush era, when Saddam Hussein was our friend and when Don Rumsfeld went over and shook his hand and sold him the stuff. And Bush wanted to cover this up because it was nothing. A, these were not in their usable condition. These were not things that Saddam Hussein could have used. B, they went back to the Iran-Iraq War. I mean, that's how old this stuff was. And C, it was our poison gas, not his. So the argument that we needed to take Saddam down because he had WMD is still a phony argument. It's still a lie by the Bushies. But now that they have found some of these aging shells with poison gas in them that were sold to Saddam by Reagan and Bush Sr., that had been buried or disposed of badly or stored away and quite literally forgotten. Now that they've found some of these things, and now the word is coming out that they spent from 2004 till just a few months ago, apparently, covering this up. The right wing is saying this is their new bumper sticker, and this is the problem. They come up with a bumper sticker, and you have to have a 2 or 3 sentences to rebut it. We were right about WMD in Iraq. Bush was right about WMD in Iraq. No, he was wrong. There was no usable WMD in Iraq. Saddam Hussein was not making WMD. He did not represent a WMD threat. He was not going to bring WMD to the United States. He didn't even know he had any. But that's not the headline that you're going to read from Drudge to Blaze to Daily Caller. Well, I haven't looked at the Daily Caller today, but I'm guessing all these right-wing sites, they're all going to be saying, see, we told you so. And this is going to become like Al Gore invented the internet. They're going to promote it, and they're going to punch it so hard, so frequently, so aggressively over the next few months that 10 years from now, people are going to be saying, yeah, there was WMD in Iraq. It's incredible. I mean, it's a real testimonial to how the Republicans can reinvent history. You're seeing this right now in Kentucky. Mitch McConnell has all these, quite indefensible positions. And he totally screwed up. You know, I mean, in the debate, he says, no, I won't, I won't do away with Kentucky Obamacare. But let's do away with all of Obamacare. Right, pull it out by the roots. Those two things contradict each other. But Chuck Todd did not go on Meet the Press and say, oh, look at Mitch McConnell has disqualified himself by lying and then contradicting himself. Now, instead, he said that Alison Lundergan Grimes disqualified herself by refusing to say whether or not she voted for Obama. Now, I think that was a dumb move on her part, but whether that's the case or not, Chuck Todd's clip is being used in Mitch McConnell ads. Now, in previous election cycles, when Republicans tried to use clips from MSNBC to beat up Democrats, MSNBC objected. They said that that's our copyrighted material. You can't use it. Apparently, they're not objecting to Mitch McConnell using Chuck Todd.